create your own road show. The nexus of space and time, where you are now, is the most immediate sector of your universe. create your own road show. The nexus of space and time where you are now is the most immediate sector of your universe.
Hey everybody, welcome to Shadowcasters Network Live, the stream where we here at the Shadowcasters Network, we make our stuff for the week. We hang out with you guys while we make some videos and answer some questions and talk about Tabletop. And today we're going to be doing news like we always do, but also we're going to be doing another game review. Oz has got another great game review for us. It's the game Quietus and what he thinks about that and what it means for the horror RPG genre. And also some uninspired GM tips. I was trying to be funny there on purpose. Cliff has got some tips for GMing when you're feeling uninspired to GM. So
I was like, wow, you throwing shade already?
So that's a problem that I'm sure all of us have had. So if you wanna hang out and listen, then please do. And if you want to support us along the way, we've got patreon.com/shadowcasters. We've got the stupid game that's going to be coming up. Always a blast, and to be involved with that, you got to be a patron. But also, we just like the support, and you could do other ways you could support. Another big way that we do is on YouTube streaming. You can do super chats and stuff. So look into that and make it so that we can, your voice is heard more prominently above everybody else's. Which is what all of us are really trying to do in life these days. So now you can pay to win that game and help us out along the way. As you can see, it is Avril Lavigne's birthday, so I'm celebrating on my TV screen. Happy birthday, Avril Lavigne.
I was wondering what that was about. I'm like, Bobby, are you aware of what you are?
It's Avril Lavigne. Here's another one. I fell into the Avril Lavigne rabbit hole today. I'm going to switch it to a more neutral one in just a second before we do the news. But, lay back.
Were you a skater boy?
What you yelling for? No, I wasn't. But
that's okay. You can still like Avril.
But
Avril for me really took off on Girlfriend.
Yeah.
I actually like loathe Skater Boy. But
yes.
That song that she did, "I'm With You," I don't know if that's what it's called or not, but like, "I'm with you."
That was such a good song.
It's a good song.
That's a great song. I was at the time when I was in high school. I had to be a closeted Avril Lavigne fan because it was all the rage to be downing on Avril. To hate on Avril Lavigne. Yeah.
I was really weirded out when she started dating Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
And I carried that weirdness my whole life, and I found out that was actually not true. Like, it never happened. And it was one of those things where I guess we all just, like, imagined it. Because, like, it was never true. It was like an urban legend.
Yeah.
And, like, everybody had that delusion.
Never heard this before.
Well, maybe you were just more tuned in or not tuned in. But, like, I would have bet money on it.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. So
that would have been really weird. Marilyn Manson
that's exactly. Would have been really weird. And I was weirded out.
Old dude.
Yeah.
And she was born in 1984, just like me. So that would have been really weird.
And Marilyn Manson's probably my age, so it would be like me and Bobby dating.
Which, it's cool now, but maybe not when I was in high school.
The power differential is still a problem for me. And I'll just let that sit, which direction that would flow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you decide.
Who has the bigger power differential? Who's the dom in this relationship?
Yeah. Leave us a comment in the chat and let us know.
What do they call them? I learned this word a couple months ago. Switch.
Ah, yes.
What's that?
I think I'm a switch.
What's that?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Should I?
Versed.
Is this dirty?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
not
shameful,
really.
Not shameful,
Yeah.
but it's sexual, I suppose.
That's what I mean by dirty.
I know that's what you meant, and we're trying to take it back.
Anything sexual is dirty.
Yeah.
Bobby's the Puritan among us.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I am quite the prude amongst us. Cliff, how are you doing this week? Haven't heard from you yet.
Weigh in on the Avril Lavigne non-controversy.
Yeah.
I just have nothing to contribute on a conversation about Avril Lavigne. Like I'm aware of the existence of that person's name, and that's about it. I think I've heard a song by Avril Lavigne, and then I go, wait, no, that's Natalie Imbruglia I'm thinking of.
Oh, she's way cooler. I love Natalie Imbruglia.
Definitely cooler. That was the first. She was the first musician that my daughter Zoe, my older daughter, who's 7 now, that she ever knew by name and requested in the car.
I mean, like that one song that she had was dope.
Right. That was the one.
Was she Unwritten?
No,
song?
it was.
No, what was the song? Unwritten is somebody
Torn.
else.
Yeah,
Torn.
Like you were like right there thematically. Unwritten and Torn are like right there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was Torn.
Who was
but
Unwritten?
The same song.
Unwritten was Sarah McLachlan, maybe? No.
Wait. I don't know if I'm thinking of the same song you're thinking of, actually. So
I always feel bad for artists whose their biggest hit and really their only hit like are covers. Like, man, you had such potential and dang it.
Darn.
Like, it's not sustainable.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what have you been up to this week, Cliff?
Stuff, I guess. I've been doing various RPG writing project things, some of them secret, some of them less secret. I had fun with Opti early this week when we chatted to work out the plot idea for a trilogy of contract briefs in Anarchy 2050 that are going to be about Dunkelzahn stuff, the events surrounding Dunkelzahn's assassination. And those are runs that I wasn't directly adapting from old first edition runs. These were ones that we took some existing plot books and essentially made up a few things. So in order to sort of fit and represent sort of this iconic moment in Shadowrun history. So I got to write those out, and that was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, working a little bit of music, playing a little bit more guitar, rearranged my space here so now my guitar is hanging visibly behind me. So
yeah, I like that in the background there. It's
next to the hammer dulcimer and the map of bar save.
Yeah, you're starting to you're filling out your background back there. It's getting interesting.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole like blank white thing with the thermostat just wasn't
I mean, you know,
I can't do anything about the thermostat. We kind of need that to be where it is, but you know, I can't cover it up either, or else I guess
we kind of have it half covered on the stream with our logo, so we got you almost covered there. All right, well, you guys want to get into the news this week?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Let's do it. I'm going to be running through this cold. Normally I practice these, not practice, but normally I read through it again sometime right before the stream, but I haven't had time today. We had company over spreading coronavirus here in the house, and I'm not annoyed by that at all. So this is a half cold. This is a lukewarm read. So we'll see what we can do. All right, I don't have to go from black anymore, is what you said, right?
Correct. Yes. So we are no longer, and I'm sure our audience will be happy about this. We are no longer doing awkward blackouts, transitions, and end screens.
Yeah. Oz decided that he was going to do the work of handling that on the back end for us. Oh, speaking of, I did not start recording. It's a good thing we had this conversation because this is the most important time to start recording.
Yes.
You know, also I should mention, I think we were talking about, it was a good idea to tell our audience here, in case some of them didn't know, that we're doing these live with you today here, but we're actually cutting them up to put out as YouTube videos in smaller chunks later throughout the week.
Yeah.
So that's why we act weird all of a sudden like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll get all serious and funky and. But
Bobby will stop and start over several times.
Yeah. Having said that, when you see the videos come out on our YouTube channel, tell your friends.
Like, I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in between our segments, we get to do like fun little chatty stuff.
Yeah.
And you get to hang out with us. It's like we were making a pilot show, and you get to be our studio audience.
Or maybe you ask a question that's really interesting that we talk about for 5 minutes, and that becomes its own separate video topic, like what happened last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the week before.
Yep.
Yeah, that happens. So anyway,
Bobby right about Hero Quest, because that was the highlight of my week when Bobby tweeted that out.
oh yeah, that you were
Bobby
right,
about
and we're
this.
going to talk about that in the news. So that's a good segue. I'm going to get to it.
Oh, segue. Okay, we'll do that then.
It's pronounced Segwu.
Okay, sorry. What is today's date? Because I put date in the notes.
27th.
The 27th. Let me change that. September. Hey everyone, it is date. Not 30/30. It's 2020. All right. Although we should do a fake episode one time where we pretend it's 30/30. All right.
In the year 3030.
We'll all be evolved into energy beings by then, right? All right, here we go.
It happened quick enough.
Hey everyone, it is September 27th, 2020. My name's Bobby Frankenberger. Oh, no, but see, that's what happens when... I forgot that I start on 4 of us. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's September 27th, 2020. My name's Bobby Frankenberger, and I'm here with the rest of the SCN crew, and we're going to talk about some of the tabletop gaming news for this week. We'll be talking about Hero Quest news update, the Fallout war game that's getting an expansion, and some old D&D settings are getting some new love. So, let's get to it. So Modifius has a new expansion out for their Fallout war game. If you're not aware, Modifius, that games company that adapts all your favorite television shows, movies, and video games into tabletop games, has a war game called Fallout Wasteland Warfare. It originally released 2 years ago in August of 2018, and it's a war game where you build a crew of iconic characters from the Fallout series and combat each other in player versus player war game style. The game has a narrative campaign arc and a solo versus AI mode. But anyway, the news is that Modifius announced that coming in spring of 2021, they're going to be releasing a Mojave region expansion, which will bring the fan favorite Fallout New Vegas setting to the game. It's going to add more iconic characters like Legate Lanius, Chief Hansen, and factions like the Caesars Legion and the New California Republic are going to be pitted against each other in this expansion. You'll need to have the base Fallout Wasteland Warfare game to play. But Cliff, I know that you, sir, are a fan of Fallout New Vegas. Who do you want to see added to this game as a character, and why was it the Kings? Or why is it the Kings as a playable faction that you want to see? I'm sure that's part of your answer.
I mean, that's it right there. I mean, there really is no other answer than if the King's not represented, it can't be a New Vegas expansion properly, because I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of other stuff you could pull from it, but that's one of those things that stand out at me as just one of those funny moments playing the game, and that was a group that I wanted to hang out with. Later on, playing Fallout 4, definitely big with the Atom Cats. Walking around with my custom Atom Cats power armor, or when I get out of it, rocking my Atom Cats leather jacket.
Yeah.
So I just kind of dig the greasers gangs in Fallout. But you know what? If that doesn't happen, no big deal. I'll just get my super awesome slick ganger fix out of Gangs of the Undercity.
Yeah. You know, I would not have been interested.
nice
Speaking of, I would not have been interested in this Fallout game. I wasn't when it came out, but I've recently decided I'm going to give these types of games a try because of Opti's upcoming game.
Nice.
So I might have to try this one out too. Excited about it.
Have you all played the Fallout board game? I thought this was a board game. I didn't realize there was a war game as well.
No, I have not.
Today. I have heard of the board game too, but yeah, the war game, that's pretty much news to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the funny thing is about New Vegas, when you actually play it and really get to know it, you don't really want to back Caesar's Legion or the New California Republic, because the NCR, they're both not doing good things for the area.
Right.
I feel like I really made a mistake by playing Fallout 1, 2, half of 3, and then half of 4, and totally skipping New Vegas.
Yeah,
Everybody says New Vegas is the best one, right?
Yeah.
It is one of the best, definitely. It's easily up there with Fallout 3 and 4. Probably the best of those 3, though I do love the whole settlement building element of Fallout 4 so much that it propels it further to my liking than New Vegas was.
Yeah.
I think Fallout is just like a smidge too complicated for me. Like to be having a full-time job and children. And to also I just can't devote everything I need to devote to.
Yeah, absolutely. I've stopped and started Fallout 4 so many times, and I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, check out that game if you want to check it out, and let us know what you think about it. Some D&D news. We can't go a week without D&D news, right? That seems to be the case most of the time. D&D...
Their freaking business model.
D&D Celebration was this past weekend. Sunday, September 20th, during the Inside the D&D Studio panel, they announced that there would be a greater emphasis on settings in the years to come. They stated that this is going to include giving some much desired attention to 3 classic settings. Specifics weren't given about which settings those were, but our good friend Daryl Mott over at EN World made a point in his most recent weekly news roundup that a July 2015 survey done by Wizards of the Coast showed that the most popular settings not supported yet in 5e are Dark Sun, Planescape, Greyhawk, Dragonlance, and Spelljammer. So likely, there's a good chance we're going to see 3 of those from that list. Also mentioned during the panel was that there would be more upcoming products aimed at the mainstream player who doesn't have time to read tons of books in order to get into the game, which seems to line up with some of the things coming out in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, like the sidekick class that we've talked about before. So, good news coming, I suppose. I never played any of those old settings, so I can't say that I'm excited about them, but I know that some people are, so that's cool. Have you guys played any of those settings?
Yes. Oh yeah. The Dragonlance, like if they release a Dragonlance, that would be the first D&D thing I would really be super excited for 5e to like stream. I would like have to do some sort of campaign.
Describe Dragonlance in 1 sentence.
Nostalgia.
Okay, try again. Something that we can actually follow.
It is a classic high fantasy stuff, right? Like where like the I don't know, like the people that mostly love it, like really love a couple of the characters like Raistlin, if you've heard of that character. But there was just this sort of moment in the late 80s, I suppose, where Dragonlance was just sort of everything that you wanted. It had Bahamut, and it had Tiamat, and it had like the race of dragon people, and it had like high, Knights of the Rose and the Knights of the Sword. Like it was just this whole setting where like it kind of distilled all the sort of best D&D for me that I really enjoyed. And so I would really appreciate like going back to that. Like all the other settings sort of feel like D&D adjacent, right? Like they take the high fantasy and then they take it to a different direction, right? But the Dragonlance just said high fantasy, bam, we're sticking with it. Yeah. And it's just like a Lord of the Rings adjacent, right? It's just a different high fantasy setting that just pushed all the right buttons for me when I was a kid.
It's also the only D&D setting, I think, unless they've imported them into other ones that I haven't heard of, that has Kender. So that's definitely a plus.
A plus for some people. I know they have a lot of hate, but Kender is their sort of halfling or Hobbit class, and or
way cooler.
Yeah, but they have this penchant for like stealing things, like they're sort of kleptomaniacal, and but they're kind-hearted. It's a fun take on the species. But yeah, Dragonlance is just super cool. I would really love it.
Blind Guardian songs set
Yeah.
in based off Dragonlance setting material.
Well,
I'd also be surprised if they didn't do Spelljammer because of the popularity of crud. Help me out. What's the one that just released from the D&D clone? Shoot!
I can't help you.
Space Finder? What was it?
Oh, Starfinder?
Starfinder! Thank you.
More like Star Wars, but with D&D feel. Spelljammer is super different and weird.
Yeah.
I think Greyhawk is one of these that they can afford to just not do because it's like Greyhawk is generic
like
D&D
default,
setting.
Right? Default D&D setting?
Yeah.
Or is that Eberron now? Eberron.
Yeah, it's basically Greyhawk is vanilla D&D. There's nothing that stands out to me about it that I can go like, oh, yay, I remember that time we adventured there or did this. Yeah. It's like, oh, those are all the generic gods that I have to translate over to the Forgotten Realms ones or the Dragon's Lance ones when I'm playing. So I think Greyhawk is not as important. Planescape could be interesting, but also is like just to throw everything in the
I don't even know
sort of
what
thing.
that is. I've never played.
I'm going to put my money on Dark Sun, Dragonlance, and Spelljammer.
I've never met anybody who was like, man, I just need Dark Sun. Like
Maddie Smith in the chat says Dark Sun or bust. So
there are people who are like, is Dark Sun as hopeful about Dark Sun as you are about Dragonlance. Hands down.
Okay.
Well,
I tried to get into a Dark Sun campaign and just fizzled. So
if you if you're go ahead and tell us in the comments which of those you're looking forward to, or if there's another one that wasn't mentioned that you're hoping that they're going to resurrect, and if you're a fan of Space Finder, let us know that as well. All right, next on the news, the countdown completed on Tuesday, September 22nd, noon Eastern, and we now know about the Hero Quest reveal. It was as expected. Hero Quest is being relaunched as a board game in a form largely unchanged from its original. According to their site, there's going to be 71 highly detailed character and furniture miniatures, as well as offering 4 bonus miniatures and an exclusive mini only available to backers during this funding campaign. Now, these minis are going to be in full plastic instead of cardboard like some of the originals, and the quality looks pretty good. The game's being funded on Hasbro's own Kickstarter-esque funding platform called Hasbro Pulse, with a funding goal of $1 million. Now, I don't know a whole lot about producing board games or what it takes. I know that Opti does, and maybe we'll talk about it in a minute, but that sounds like a really high goal. We'll get into that. First, there are 2 tiers at which you can back this game. The first tier is Heroic tier for $99.99, and you get the game and all the miniatures, including the bonus ones. It looks like there's also going to be a couple of expansions to the base game, and those expansions are going to be available to backers of the higher Mythic tier for $149.99 or $150. It's already funded, but the Pulse campaign is going to remain open to potential backers until November 6th. Stretch goals exist, or they call it something else, like Epic things, their own branded thing. There's a
Space Finder level.
Yeah, there's a Warlock hero you can get. It's already been funded. There's extra enemy minis and a quest book called Prophecy of Telor, written by Stephen Baker, the original designer of Hero Quest. So I think that this game sounds all very exciting. Fans of the old board game are probably pretty excited about this coming back with updated, more detailed, really cool-looking minis. However, I've got one big problem with this whole thing, and that's that Hasbro is the biggest board game company. Why are they funding this through a crowdfunding campaign?
Excellent question.
So,
and not to mention, not only are they doing it through like a crowdfunding, they're also doing it on their own platform, so they're not getting any of like the fees that Kickstarter normally takes.
Right.
So they're getting their full.
I mean, like, not only, and I don't think you made this particular, but if you did, I apologize. But not only are they the biggest board game manufacturers, but Wizards of the Coast is also a subsidiary of Hasbro, right? So it's not like they don't have this stuff in their wheelhouse to do without having to do a Kickstarter or crowdfund.
Right.
This seems to me like a very, very bad thing for crowdfunding.
Yeah, just exactly. That's the point that I was thinking, is that
please make it better than me.
Because you can, okay, so here's some numbers. Hasbro reported $520.5 million in net earnings in 2019. What they're doing is shifting the risk onto the consumer, right? Now, you could make the argument that whatever this isn't a whole lot different than like a pre-order setup kind of thing. They're trying to gauge interest. It's probably a smart, quote unquote, smart business move, trying to see who's going to be doing it. But my big problem with it is exactly what you just said, Opti, which is that they're using a type of funding method that is typically used by indie game designers, indie developers, and small-time people who need it. And it sort of feels like they're going to be cheapening or watering down or something this way of funding things.
So, yes, that's exactly where I was going, in that if you are a small independent game company like Dragon Unicorns or whatever, every bit of that money that you are taking in is going to produce the game or just to get things rolling. But if you already have many people on staff. I mean, I would think at Hasbro, thousands of people on staff, and you already have all of this in-house stuff. You are going to make it so that anybody trying to compete on a crowdfunding platform is not going to be able to. And I think it's irresponsible in that setting to pass the risk on to consumers because they have no protections in this fashion, right? Like normally the big company takes all the risks and then the consumers decide whether they want to pay for it. This way, they don't have to pay as many people on the front end. They don't have to pay as much to people on the back end, and they have full control of whether or how much they provide to the people who supported them. Like, I just don't like this at all. All of it feels very
icky,
gross.
Yeah,
it feels exploitative in a way that I can't quite put my finger on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with maybe not so much a dissenting opinion, but maybe just a different way of looking at it. In that, okay, well, a couple things. First of all, I don't really see how Hasbro doing their thing takes anything away from anybody doing crowdfunding on other stuff, other than maybe some people might decide to drop their $100 on a Hero Quest box instead of some other Kickstarter that's going on right now. I don't think overall that it boils. I don't really understand overall why.
Do you mind if I butt in for just a second and clarify why I think that? And I don't want to interrupt you if you're on a roll or anything, but the reason I say that is because right now, at least in my head, and I could be wrong about this. Most people could think differently than I do, but at least in my head right now, when I see like Kickstarter, I equate that with, like it's a safe assumption for me to think like, this is sort of an indie company or an indie developer or some small time company that's trying to do something cool, and it's just an easy leap for me. I don't have to think too hard about it. But the more I'm going to see, like, if we start seeing Hasbro doing things like this, then it's not so easy for me to make that leap. That's the main issue I have.
That's a weird nebulous issue.
Yeah,
it is.
That's definitely not the first issue I would think of. The issue I think is you have people who use these platforms specifically to fund their projects, and big companies that don't need these platforms come in, co-opt the platforms for their benefit, and they're always going to come out $1 million stronger than any indie because they have that name recognition. I mean, we see this all over the place. Any platform that a lower income or indie person has had to use, when celebrities or big companies come in and start swooping in and using the model, they inherently are going to use it in a way better, more professional way, and then it starts kicking a bunch of other people off the how do I put this, like the presentability factor,
right? It changes the bar, the standard, right?
Yeah. Yes, it does. That's actually one of my biggest problems. Do you remember the Wendy's RPG that came out a year or two ago? Mm-hmm. That was actually a really big problem. Thankfully, nobody else did that. But if you can imagine any number of companies starting to do that kind of stuff, taking even just the smallest fraction of their budget and throwing it into an RPG, right? they could make something better than all of us put together. Like they could crush the entire industry. Like I know, Cliff. Like I know you're shaking your head because I think that like indie development and doing cool and weird stuff is always going to be there, but the community itself, like as a whole, not just the people who like indie stuff, but the community as a whole could not be the same if lots of people decided to start putting that kind of money into this little niche gaming, tabletop gaming RPG thing that we all participate in.
Yeah, Cliff, you've been wanting to say something and I interrupted you, so go on and before we end up having to run out of time. So
It's fine. Go ahead.
No, I think we're done. So let's hear what you got.
I don't even remember. I had a point. It's like half formed in my brain now. I was going to say it then, but I don't have it anymore. So just go ahead.
I might be able to guess maybe where you were going with it, which is that if people were willing to toss $100 or just basically any money towards name brand stuff, they were probably never going to toss that money elsewhere. You already have these people who are like, there is brand loyalty in some way to that name, and they might not necessarily already be aware of indie stuff. They might not even trust indie stuff. They might be like, whatever. I'm sure this will come out great or whatever. Like, I'll find out later, but I don't need to back it now. But like when they see something that it's like, ooh, Hero Quest, I remember that. Like that money was going to land in their lap regardless of if an indie developer came out and said, hey, I'm using Hero Quest.
If I can get to where I was trying to think of before was, I guess I picture, we picture these big companies as very monolithic and not just made up of a bunch of different people with probably lots of conflicting priorities and factions. And I can just think of, and I'm not sure if this is how it went down, but I could picture like somebody going like, man, I work for Hasbro. I want Hero Quest to get out there again. And I go to my boss and say, we should do Hero Quest. And they go, there's no money in that. And I go, what? Look at this stuff on Kickstarter that's funding like crazy. And if we did something like that, I bet you we could do it. And the boss, all right, fine. If people are going to put money towards it,
you find the money.
Go ahead. So the boss dude is a money-grubbing, capitalist, greedy asshole. But there's people trying to make good things happen throughout that structure that's kept by a greedy capitalist asshole.
You know what, Cliff? You've won me over. I that's my headcanon now for how this went down.
Yeah, I do hope so.
Out of the budget.
Because
I can imagine that scenario. I imagine that exact scenario where some intern goes, hey, honestly, guys, we could totally do this thing with these IPs that we already have.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let me do a Kickstarter.
Exactly.
Right?
Because despite
the
ickiness of it, it is cool. I am excited about the game, and I think it'll be cool to check out. So, yeah.
I kind of dig how it takes. Now, granted, it is co-opting the idea of crowdfunding, which is traditionally in the bailiwick of indie producers, who otherwise would not be able to make the thing happen without the Kickstarter campaign. But also, what it does is it gives consumers an opportunity to have a voice in the direction that a company is going to take on a very specific question. And I kind of like that trend a little bit, even though I hate capitalism.
Yeah.
You know what? I know that Bobby wants to wrap up, but like the one thing that I think you're onto is that there are definitely name brand things like Hero Quest, Veronica Mars, if you've ever followed that, like things that have gotten crowdfunded on $1 million levels that would never have been funded by any other studio normally because they're like, But then when the fans come in and say, no, please make the thing, then they drop all the money. They're like, oh, okay, well, great. The fans kept it alive.
Critical Role animated show, right?
Yeah.
Perfect example for that.
Yeah. Well, those are all really good points. And I hope that you guys let us know what you think. Those are just some of the things going on in the world of tabletop this week. If you have some of your some other news stories you'd like us to discuss, you should check it out and let us know on our Discord server at shadowcasters.network/Discord. We've got a channel there just for suggesting news items. Also, please check out our Patreon if you like what we do here and you want to help us keep doing it. Then patreon.com/shadowcasters is where you can support us. There's lots of levels there. Check it out. And if you don't do Discord, you can always tweet us at SRCasters. Contact us through email at contact@shadowcasters.network. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. You know what to do. Click the bell icon, and we'll see you next week for some more tabletop news. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right. That was the news. I didn't want to talk about it on the thing just because I wanted to wrap up for the official segment. But Maddie Smith in the chat makes what I thought was a good point. I don't know if he was making exactly this point, but he did bring up video games. Differences between indie video games and like AAA games. And the reason, whether he was making this point or not, it did make me think we don't see the problem that I was worried about in the video game space. You have huge game developers making huge games, and you have indie developers making indie games, and it still is able to happen with Kickstarter and crowdfunding and all this kind of stuff all together. So maybe I'm worried about something that's not going to happen,
I'm not as familiar with the video game industries, like how they fund themselves.
Well, it just happens. It sometimes happens the same way, sometimes doesn't, and there's a lot of analogs that can be, or analogies that can be drawn.
What are you drinking there, Bobby? It's got a nice amber color.
It is Crystal Light. Lemon sweet.
Are we gonna do the stupid game now?
Jeez. Opti is done.
Cliff got cut off. Hold on, Cliff. What were you
Cliff.
Why does this happen?
I don't know. I had a thought, and I was going to say it, and then I got cut off, and I don't.
All right, we got to stop cutting you off because
that would be nice.
Yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the stupid game.
Sorry.
Could you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we could hear you the whole time.
Oh, God, sorry for yelling, man. I couldn't hear you guys at all, and I was just like talking.
Oh my God.
You yelled about doing the stupid game, and
did I yell over somebody? Was that the point?
Yes.
yeah, you did.
Oh, because I didn't hear anybody talking, so I didn't know. So if it was me that cut you off, then I apologize.
I cut him off asking about this about Bobby's stupid Crystal Light. I thought it was beer.
No.
It wasn't even beer.
That was really more of just a simultaneous thing than a cutting off, though.
You're
As opposed to like jumping and saying, "I'm going to interrupt you. Do you mind if I interrupt you? I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you." I know you won't mind, but you don't mind, do you? No, I'm just going to go ahead and interrupt you and roll on over, and then let the conversation go on several topics around before going, "Oh yeah, didn't I interrupt someone earlier?"
Bobby interrupted me earlier too, but I think he make the point better than I was going to make.
And that is my mother, ladies and gentlemen.
That was why I was gradually turning red over the course of a few minutes there. Just
look. I'm sorry, but it's
it's fine.
His gamma energy is building up.
when I'm doing the news, I go into full takeover,
General
do the
Bobby
news mode.
Oh no, it's cool.
All right, so let's. I guess I should open up the stupid game spreadsheet. The stupid spreadsheet.
I need a D12. Maybe I'll just pull up a dice roller.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, gosh, I keep forgetting to actually bring it.
Alexa, cancel. Sorry.
I still have my D12. All right, online dice roller it is.
Where is?
Hey, thanks, Palmer. Palmer saying Cliff rules, more Cliff. So
Yeah. Where is this stupid game? Okay.
we just have to stop cutting it off so he can rule more.
All right. I'm excited about the stupid game.
Me too.
Stupid game.
Apparently. Yeah, I don't even know what I was saying. I was in the middle of talking, and you were like, "Are we gonna do a stupid game now?"
I'm so sorry. Like honestly, like I was typing something out, and then like I just like nobody was saying anything, so I was like, "Man, I better rescue this from like this awkward silence." And so I was like, "Stupid game!" And then I looked over, and everybody's like, "I was like, oh, shit, what have I done?"
All right. Here we go. Everybody got their names?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna hit our stinger.
The stupid game.
All right, it's time for the stupid game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have. You know what? Why don't we have Cliff introduce first? So maybe so that one of us can cut him off again.
All
right, Cliff, you go. You start.
All right. Over the empty arena, the sounds of the distance of the coming of fall can be heard. The sounds of many geese. Then it becomes more and more geese. More and more geese as this giant V, an arrow, comes flying in to the center of the arena. Riding behind, being pulled on an airfoil-style chariot, is Thomas Malloy.
Ooh.
Shoulder-mounted missile launchers firing rockets up into the air that festoon the area with brilliant fireworks. As he lands, the rocket launchers are reloaded automatically with live rounds.
Oh my god!
And the geese shit on everybody.
Clearly a crowd favorite.
And shots of people cheering and then getting it in their face and just
Wow.
Yeah, so that's Thomas Malloy's
Thomas
entrance.
Malloy. What about you, Opti? Who do you got?
I have Mr. Travy Trav.
Ooh.
And do we have a setting?
It's
Arena.
so far it's been described as
General arena?
fall.
All right.
It's a stupid setting.
Yeah.
This is a stupid place. Okay. A lone warrior enters the arena. They are riding a sentient whirlwind named Dave. Dressed in flowing sky blue robes, their faces wrapped with a white face mask, concealing their true identity. In one hand, they wield a sword of pure pink sapphire. In the other, a flute. They play a soft melody that slowly transforms magically into a funky disco beat. They begin to sing. Sounds fly through the night. I chase my vinyl dreams to Boogie Wonderland. And they raise their sapphire sword.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to start writing mine ahead of time.
This is what you get when the randomization falls to Opti.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Oz, you're up.
All right, I have Travis, who blinks in, and then blinks out, and then blinks in a different part of the arena, and continues to blink over the arena, holding a large glass diamond mirror. And nothing else except them and their own resplendence and long robes. And they look at the arena and beckon for the applause and adulation that they so rightfully deserve.
Wow. You guys. All right, so
I was really hoping for nothing but a mirror.
Nothing but a mirror. No.
My own resplendence and a mirror.
All right.
No.
Then suddenly
Modesty.
the arena grows silent, and the ground begins to rumble, and the crowds begin to shake, and the wind blows, and over the back of the arena, crashing like a giant wave, well, not like a giant wave, it is a giant wave of water, and upon the crest is Dustin Zachman riding on two orcas, and he as he lands in the middle of a pool that appears in the middle of the arena and dives off of the orcas and under the water and then up again with his brilliant dirty blonde locks flowing behind him, and he lands on his feet and prepared for battle.
Again, he lands on his feet, like of course he would. But what if he didn't?
Fortunately, we don't roll the dice before the introductions anymore.
Right.
He lands on his left shoulder.
Yeah.
Prepared for battle.
Yeah.
Travis goes, I am vaguely impressed.
All right. The orcas are doing their
Have we
sort
added
of routine.
Have we added water to the arena now?
There is now a large pool like in SeaWorld.
Yeah. We are now in Misty's stadium.
Gotcha.
All right. It's time to roll your D12.
Will help us. He'll help Mr. Travichab float over the
Cerulean City Gym.
It's time to roll your D12.
Roll your D12.
Oh,
Yes!
God.
Yes! It's my time!
What'd you get?
I got 12!
I also got 12.
Are you kidding me? I got a 12.
I got 12.
I got a 12, but I have a +2 because
Liar!
Justin Zachman
Liar!
is a village hero. I'm not lying.
I got a 12 too. No, I'm just kidding. I got a 6. I have a +0 bonus because Thomas Malloy is a warrior.
You got a 12 with the bonus?
Yes.
Or you
No,
got
with the bonus, it's a 14.
God!
So
Bless
we rolled
America,
3
Bobby.
12s amongst
You
us.
stole this from me! You stole this. I mean, I don't mean me. I mean,
Three
Mr.
12
Traffic
out of 4
Traffic.
dice rolls. That is so stupid.
That is this is the stupidest game. I feel like we need cameras now. I'm not lying
Oh.
though.
Yeah, no, I'm not lying either.
Gosh darn it.
This
I'm
was
taking
intense.
a screenshot.
So I think I want to hear first. What Thomas Malloy does, then how Mr. Travy Trav and the two Travises, how they take care of Thomas Malloy, and then Dustin Zachman will come in and clean up.
So Thomas Malloy takes to the air, holding onto the leads, led by Geese riding on his airfoil. As he launches missiles, it becomes clear the missiles aren't actually the main weapon. They're actually targeting indicators that create big bursts that cause large amounts of geese to hone in on and just move in and mob individual people to mark for the targets. Unfortunately, Thomas Malloy is slipping and wobbling a bit, and his missiles go flying off in random directions, and his geese spend all their time maliciously slaughtering vast swaths of the crowd.
Oh my gosh.
Thomas Malloy does not stick around to find out what happens in the rest of the battle because it seems like the rest of the crowd is getting very angry. He flies away with his few remaining geese and his life.
Oh, he fled. Smart move there, Thomas Malloy. Live to fight another day. Excellent. So what are Mr. Travy Trav and Travis doing, I suppose, during all of this?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Travy Trav could have taken this. Save for Dave, the sentient whirlwind, was dispatched to take care of the remaining geese that were harassing the
I gotta say, it's really impressive how Dave managed to have that name tag up there and keep that in the same place while the rest of him is whirling around. That requires a lot of
Maybe
control.
he's a sentient name tag that just
No one ever asked Dave.
no one's ever bothered to
Because he's a manager at the Whirlwind store.
So without his trusty sentient whirlwind, Mr. Travy Trav decides that he's going to play Highlander, and there can be only one Trav, or any. Those 4 letters are his and his alone, and so he's going to rush Travis because they both have flowing robes and TRAV in the name, and they're gonna brawl it out. Because he figures that that Dustin will be easy prey once he dispatches the other Trav.
But Travis blinks again, and then lands right into the whirlwind by accident.
And then the whirlwind launches him into the pool and straight into the mouth of an orca.
Yeah.
And then the only 2 people left are Mr. Travy Trav and Dustin Zachman. Dustin Zachman summons the power of not just water, but also earth. You didn't know, because neither did I, but he masters all the elements, and he raises the earth from beneath Mr. Travy Trav and launches him into the pool as well. And as he's gasping for breath because Mr. Travy Trav can't swim, I just decided, the other remaining orca devours him alive, and Dustin Zachman says, "Dinner time's over," and then goes away with his orcas in another giant wave cresting over the top of the stadium, splashing everyone and cleaning all of the crowd's bird poop off of them, if they're still alive, that is.
Them are.
Yeah. So now he's also a hero because he cleaned them. Thank you, Miss Dustin Zachman. You are the winner, and you will be in our Hall of Fame once I finally make it for the stupid game. I need to put that on my to-do list. Maybe I'll do that during someone's segment.
Maybe are we gonna have like a victory or a battle royale with all the winners?
Eventually, I'm sure we will.
Yeah, of course. Sure, totally.
We're gonna have a losers bracket. We're gonna have any other stupid thing
we're gonna
with.
do every single possible thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
After this one, though, over half of the participants or the contestants of the stupid game haven't had their chance in the arena. We have only 5 left who have not yet been tried. Hopefully, we'll add some new names to that list so it balances out in the 4s. But if it doesn't, well, we've got a plan for that because this is the stupid game.
Yeah. I am tired of my patrons going down because they don't have the bonuses.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about. I keep getting the +0 folks, but
yeah, you don't need a bonus. You just gotta be good.
I was as good and I'm making this personal. I'm like, no, these are my people. No, Mr. Trav, he got a 12.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for all your patronage. Dustin Zachman, Thomas Malloy, Mr. Trav, and Travis. You guys are the best, and all of our patrons are amazing. That's why they get to do this stupid game with us. You can too if you go to patreon.com/shadowcasters and get involved. Check out the levels. There's other stuff you can get there too. Yeah, that was fun. Hey, well, for good measure, let's do this one more time. Here, this.
The stupid game.
Love it. All right. How's everyone feeling?
Feeling good.
I feel a little bit more loose than I was earlier.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, the stupid game always puts me in a good mood, even though I
can't believe you got a 14.
I can't either.
That hurts my heart so bad. I knew I was going to win this one.
I was worried. I was like, oh man, I got a 12. Everyone's going to think I'm rigging this. I'm cheating.
Oh, you are, Oz. We all know you are.
I'm usually not lucky in dice rolls ever. And for this game, it's
no exception. It's just that, no one gets to see your dice rolls.
That must be what it is. Yeah, so that I can't prove it. Fuck.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter.
And you've won at least twice. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm looking ahead here to what I'm gonna say for your thing. Is there anything in particular you want me to lead in with on this, or are you gonna? Is there a way you're gonna edit this? Does it matter?
There's a lead in.
Okay. Well, you had it after you switched to just me. Do you want it just on me for that intro, or do you want me?
Oh, that's weird. Yeah, that was a typo. Yeah, ignore that. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Swap where it
makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. So we're gonna get into Oz's segment then, if you hadn't caught on just then.
Yep. You gotta organize myself here.
All right. You let me know when you are ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Go
all right.
For it.
Here we go. Possibly more than any other genre of RPGs, horror RPGs have to be very deliberate and careful with creating mechanics that bolster tension, atmosphere, and pacing, while also keeping the players engaged. And Quietus might be the game that exemplifies that. Oz, tell us more about Quietus.
All right. Well, thanks, Bobby. So, Quietus is a rules-light tabletop RPG of melancholy horror for 1 to 2 players and a GM. It was published late 2019 by a designer named Ollie Jeffrey of Sinister Beard Games. The game seeks to emulate character-focused tragic tone from movies like Hereditary or Netflix's The Haunting of Hill House. I've been eyeing this game since it was kickstarted because I wanted a horror game RPG that can create mood and atmosphere without getting in the way with its rules. And this game was promising it, but does it deliver? So I've run a few one-shot horror games, such as Dread, whose main mechanic for action resolution is pulling from a Jenga tower. And while Dread does a great job at creating tension with the wobbly tower, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a gripe with its player elimination. Because one by one, players are removed from the game when their characters die due to knocking the tower over. So since they're no longer in the game, they're forced to sit on the sidelines watching everybody else play the game for possibly hours. and that isn't very fun for them. Another game that I've run is 10 Candles, and the main shtick of that game is actual lit candles being blown out one by one each time someone fails a roll, counting down toward everyone's guaranteed death once the last candle goes out. Now, this is a very atmospheric game, and it allows for lots of player input and improvisational storytelling, which I greatly appreciate, but it suffers from a pace that might either go too quickly because rolls are failing too often back to back, or too slowly because dice rolls aren't failing enough, and it drags the game out. So pacing that is entirely at the whim of the dice, and it can make it really hard to weave a tight but spooky tale. Now, look, I've had memorable games with both. No knocks on either of them. They're still excellent games that they're worth playing. But then there's Quietus. And in my opinion, this game beats Dread and 10 Candles with how it handles player elimination and pacing. And it should be looked at as a new standard for rules-light horror RPGs. So let me break it down. Quietus is a 98-page PDF, but only 8 of those pages are rules. And it uses the basic bare bones of the Blades in the Dark system as a building block. So you roll a few 6-sided dice, the highest die is the result, 6 is a success, 4 to 5 mixed result, and anything lower failure. How bad the consequences are depend on the tension of the scene, uneasy, tense, and desperate, and that's reminiscent of Positions in Blades, controlled, risky, and desperate. From there, the rest of the game is all Quietus's own design, and it's to set up pacing and drama. The characters share a hope score, and unless their hopes reaches 5, they cannot escape or defeat the horror. Meanwhile, each character has a despair score, and if their despair reaches 5, the horror kills the character. Because the game is designed to put the two at odds in a close race all the way up to its conclusion, no player character dies too early. And the GM has some control over hope or despair going up, so they can speed up or slow down those points in order to keep the pace that they need to tell a complete, sad, and haunting one-shot story. Something else Quietus does to help tell this kind of tale is the hard limit of 1 to 2 players and a GM, reasoning that you lose the sense of dread and isolation with more players. Now, this is an atmospheric choice. I have to agree with it. Too many characters makes you feel protected. Too many characters means less spotlight on you, with more opportunity to sit back and be passive. Now, none of the mechanics of Quietus inherently require a player limit, because you could play with more if you really wanted, but this is the flag that this game boldly chooses to plant, to be intentionally intimate. And that atmosphere, that introspection, and that desperation is what you're playing Quietus for. It incentivizes players to dive deeper into their characters and their tragedies and their backstories, instead of just focusing on the surface level of the horror plot, which is what typically ends up happening in a lot of one-shot games. There's a lot more that I didn't cover in this overview. There's dread points, anxiety points, scars, but I also think that those mechanics are simple and serve to contribute to everything I think this horror RPG wanted to do. So you're going to have to go and check those out yourself, because I highly recommend giving this indie game your support. Go check it out on sinisterbeard.com and follow the designer Ollie Jeffrey on Twitter at @OJeffrey. Links in the description below. So, I know you guys aren't super experienced in horror RPGs, but you've all played single session one and dones. And a lot of the time that I've played them, I've felt like there's this hurry to move to the next plot point, move to the next plot point, move, and not a lot of opportunity to soak into your psyche. And when you do, it almost feels wrong because you're taking up table time, indulging your inner monologues or your tragic pasts. And there's like 4 other characters at the table. Bobby, do you remember when we played Little Fears at Gen Con with like 14 people? Yeah. Yeah, like, how did you feel about that? Like, would you say that I mean, look, we had fun anyway. Yeah, I had a blast.
We did.
But
it was there was all the problems that you're talking about did exist there. So
yeah, so
yeah, I remember I was playing that game, and then I saw how many people went to the room, and I said, you know, I love all these people, I love hanging out with them, but this is too many people to play a role-playing game with.
Yeah. It also didn't feel exactly like what I hear people talk about horror games feeling like. And that is probably speaks to the point that you're making with so many people, which I don't know that I cared that much. I don't have a lot of experience with horror games, really. I've not had the opportunity to play them in a more close, intimate setting like you're talking about. One thing I would worry about with a horror game is that it might get too intense for me. I can handle some intensity, but maybe not as much as some of the other horror junkies that I know that really want to get into it, you know?
Well, actually, so Quietus, and this is something I really I should have mentioned before, it also does something with their adventure scenarios that I now wish that a lot of other RPG adventures would, which is they have a content warning listing the disturbing themes and elements within the scenario right up top. So GMs can easily skip reading anything that they know that their group won't be comfortable with. And it also has an excellent chapter on safety tools, because horror, you're right, horror can inherently push things really far for certain people. So it's good to see a horror, and in different ways too, right? Like what you think isn't that big of a deal can be a big deal to somebody. So it's good to see a horror game take that into account and make sure that a table ensures that they've signed up for a scary experience that they'll be able to walk away from with fond and fun, but still disturbing memories.
Right.
Yeah. Another thing that I also really liked about this game that I sort of alluded to is the scars mechanic, because and this is more of like how you dive into your character is whenever you narrate a sad or a horrifying flashback from the character's past that you can tie into how you're defending against the horror, the game succeeds at doing that, because it gives you bonus dice to your roll against the horror. So it kind of makes it so your tragic past comes into play and helps you in that moment.
Right.
So a little empowering, I guess, to something that might have been otherwise unpleasant. That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can't play these games. Too intense for me. Emotionally speaking.
Well,
that the problem with horror games isn't as much getting too intense, but having people buy in enough to where you start really getting that real tension and intensity, because you feel safe playing a role-playing game for the most part, and it's hard to jump into that feeling of horror. You have to really have a lot of buy-in towards that. But also, I've noticed some of the best horror game experience have plenty of times where you're just laughing your asses off at something that happened in the game. Lots of time for I guess comic relief to relieve the tension.
I feel like
those really just tense, horrific things. Everyone knows it's not time to crack a joke when really at that tight moment that could be otherwise broken.
I mean, I can do little fears, right? Because there's this barrier of childhood that prevents things from getting too, I don't know, something, right? But like if I'm playing an adult themed type game, like I feel like, and this is, I don't know, like I don't know exactly how to say it. Some people have, when I describe this sort of thing, it's like this socially, this off button that doesn't exist for me, right? Like it's either I go all in and make it really weird, or I have to like work extra hard to make sure I don't say something that's really awful and offensive. I've just had to like pay attention to the reactions of people around me to make sure that that's because I don't have that thing in my head that says, "Oh shit, that's offensive." So like,
jump in and ask you, how often have you played in horror games or games of that type where you've taken the time with a group to go through safety tools where everyone's basically declared which types of issues they're willing to explore in the game, which ones you want to kind of fade to black, and which ones you don't want to touch at all?
Yeah.
Because I suspect if you tackled those issues, you'd have a good idea of where everyone else's boundary is, and then you can play within those boundaries.
Yeah, that could be. But I think again, I think the the content for me throws up red flags that I've put in my head to like not cross. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not because I'm offended by it. It's because I just don't know where the lines are, and I don't want to.
And the thing is, in horror games, you don't want to sanitize the content too much. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? You want to make sure that you are pushing forward stuff that people are okay with, but sometimes maybe you're pushing something forward that maybe it wasn't discussed, or the way that you're pushing it is just really, really like intense. So
that's a line that I just don't know where that line is. So
you should definitely read the safety. You should read the safety tool ideas in Quietus, because they're very illuminating.
Yeah.
Cool. What's unique about horror games as opposed to other RPGs is that in almost every RPG system or game that you're playing, you don't want your players to feel uncomfortable on an emotional level at all. just don't want that to happen. Whereas in a horror game, you want people to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a goal.
But in a safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's especially as the person who's running the game. I bet that's a really hard line to straddle. You know.
Yeah. I know exactly where all the lines are for all the other genres. So I could free flow, right? I can do my freestyle. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't even like horror movies, so maybe that's just not.
Well, if you like horror movies or just horror games in general, or you're interested in trying out a horror RPG, check out Quietus. Links are in the show notes below. Let us know in the comments if you've played this game, if you like it, what your thoughts are. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow our Discord and join our Patreon and all of that good stuff. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so I'm gonna slam myself for a second. I was talking just to talk there, and at the end, I feel like me ending with, "Well, this game isn't for me." That's not a helpful thing, right? Like, nobody's gonna watch this clip to see about Quietus, and then to have it end with, "Yeah, it's just not for me," right? So I need to shut my mouth if I don't have something positive to say. I think that's a thing for my head.
Well, I say that
with myself and fail often as well.
I think being able to say, I don't know if this is for me, but having something come out of that comment is good.
Well, I didn't.
But
right? So, like,
but ending on it, I think I agree.
Yeah.
Just cut that comment out, or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Cut him out.
Because I mean, I think that the other stuff might have been helpful. That, if it was fine
for sure.
But well, it's just not for me.
Edit in Cliff interrupting him somehow.
Revengeance.
Let's see. Oh, okay. Here's a fun question. We got. I'm gonna have to get a question from our Discord. Remember, if you want to ask questions, you can hop on over to our Discord. That's where I pull them first. And in particular, our patrons. There's a patron question for the show channel that you guys have access to. That when we get questions there, I pull from there. The very first. That's the first place I look for questions during our live show. But Epsy asked in Discord, how long do you think you could last only on soy-based foods in real life?
Forever.
I think I'd be fine.
Soy sauce.
Soybeans and soy sauce. Tofu.
Tofu, right?
Oh, so are you limiting yourself to the existing catalog of soy-based foods there, Opti? Because if we could make all kinds of foods soy-based, like...
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, like, I assume that was inherent to the question, but
let's do it. Let's make it inherent to the question.
Theoretically, we live in a world where everything comes from soy. I guess we could live forever.
Yeah.
What choice do you have?
Exactly.
Soy, right? And
Ew. Yeah. No. You know what it is soy is cheap to manufacture, and it is nutritious-ish, right? And you can make it taste like whatever you want. But you just have to add flavor packets to it, or something.
Are flavor packets soy based?
No, those are full of corn syrup and
right, like majority of soy in the product.
Right?
Is the
Is there a line?
I think we need more information to answer this question.
Yeah, I think there would be we'd be surprised how many options you could do if you had to deal with soy as your primary ingredient. I, for one, would probably not handle it well. I have gotten really big into like cooking. I've definitely gone like totally down the hipster foodie end of things. I've started brewing my own kombucha. Like,
right.
Ooh,
I've actually started getting good at it. Right. So I would have a problem with it. I would be able to make it work to some degree, but I wouldn't be happy with my overall plate.
Mm-hmm. I'd be sad about sushi. You can't have soy sushi.
Just out of edamame, right?
Sushi since lockdown started. You just made me miss something.
I had Publix sushi the other day. It was pretty good.
That's okay. Yeah.
Public sushi.
Publix is a grocery store that you don't have
They don't
out
have
there.
Publix. Yeah. That's
it's a southeast U.S. thing.
Like I said, I got
Store? Public is a store?
It's a grocery store called Publix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, huh. What do you know?
It's like
I
our
thought you just
Winn-Dixie.
I haven't eaten sushi in public.
I sit in the closet.
Does it taste better the way you eat it? Depending on people around?
We've been Uber eating a lot of sushi.
I've been
like,
Uber
at
eating
least
a
once,
lot too.
Once a
I've
week.
gained 15 pounds.
Yeah, not only have I gained
But,
15 pounds, I've like my wallet's taken a hit, and it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah. All right, well let's do our GM tips.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I will I guess I'll just lead you in spontaneously like I did last time.
Great.
Let's see. I just have to think of something real fast. Normally I can easily do this when I'm like on a roll, already, but we stopped for a second. So let's see. All right, as usual, every week so far anyway, we've had Cliff doing GM tips, and this week is a little bit different, but still GM tips. He's got some tips for GMs who might be a little uninspired for their session this week. So, Cliff, why don't you take it from here and tell people what you've been thinking?
Thanks, Bobby. Well, I wasn't feeling very inspired by any of the ideas I was coming up with for a video topic this week. I have lots of good ideas, but nothing sparked me as terribly interesting. The feeling just wasn't there. And that got me thinking about the times that I go into a session as a GM and I'm just not feeling inspired. Some of those sessions have turned out to be among my best sessions ever. And that gave me the idea for what may well be one of my best video topics ever. You have a game session coming up and you're the GM, but today sucked and you're just not looking forward to running the game. You don't want to skip the session, but you just don't have the energy you normally bring to the table. You can do it. I have 3 tips to help you get through those low energy sessions. Stick around until the end of the video for an empowering bonus tip. Tip number 1, tell your players that you're feeling a bit low. You don't have to hide it. Just to reassure them that you want to GM the session, but share that you aren't 100%. If you feel safe discussing your personal life with your group, just take a few extra minutes, even up to half an hour, just to hang out and chat with your friends. This takes a lot of pressure off of you. I feel responsible for making sure that everyone has a good time when I GM, and that's often a good thing, but sometimes if I don't feel like I'm giving my best, I can get down on myself. It's not just that my cool ideas didn't work, it's that I failed my friends who are depending on me for an amazing shared experience. I hate letting my friends down or feeling like I let my friends down. And if I just open up to them about not feeling great, then I really don't feel the pressure to give my best performance ever, and they know what to expect. It also lets the players know that the ball is in their court. It's up to them to bring the excitement and energy. Tip number 2, encourage your players to role-play scenes with each other. If you can get your players going discussing plans for the future, reminiscing about past adventures, pondering a moral dilemma, or revealing something about one of their characters, they will do the heavy lifting for the scenario. To get this going, try to think of a question that might get them started. Pick a location that the characters would likely be hanging out together, and set the scene and ask the question. I'll give you an example. Last night was pretty rough. You're all hanging out together at the Matchstick in downtown Seattle, rain pouring down outside with unusual aggression. A soft, slow saxophone fills the room with mournful melodies, punctuated by the occasional chord change on the piano. How are you all feeling about the way things went down? Are you talking about it? Kenji, what are you doing? So, in that example, I picked an established location, added the rain to match my mood. Since I always mention what live music is happening in a scene at the Matchstick, I had an extra layer of atmosphere to lay out without having to think too hard. Then I asked the players about their feelings. Instead of waiting to see if someone would pick up the ball and run with it, I picked one of them and addressed them in character by name with the classic GM question, "What do you do?" Then sit back, let them talk it out. The players should get the scene rolling, and you'll probably get some great spontaneous moments. Don't check out. Sit back and pay attention. Relax and hang out while the players reveal their thoughts and feelings. Usually they'll say or do something that sparks inspiration for you. Take note of whatever it is they said. Don't jump into the action right away. Just let the scene play out for a while until it seems like everyone's more or less done interacting. The goal of a scene like this isn't to simply stall for time. Don't get me wrong, it works great for that too. But it's also valuable to have some low-action, thoughtful character interactions. Give your players space to reflect on the events of the campaign in character, or to explore the relationships among their characters and the world they inhabit. It's a great way to enrich the experience for everyone. Tip number 3, slice of life. Again, rely on your players to bring the story. Explore their lives outside of what happens during their adventures. Even if you're in the middle of something, you can always do a flashback scene to a quieter moment before. It can be a great way to break up the action, and it's easy to pick up again where you left off. You can also have the players' lives intrude in an ongoing adventure. The Arcology actual play that I ran includes plenty of examples of this, especially early on with Kenji's mom. Kenji was a teenager, and his single mother would often check in with him during a shadow run. It started out almost as a gag. Why are you on a shadow run at a school night? But it wasn't long before Kenji's mom became a beloved NPC. I've got other examples. Frank the Ghoul, Kit's brother Wisp, Maverick's brother, Tiny's Fixer. I always had plenty of NPC entanglements I could pull into the story with ease. If your world isn't already populated with interesting NPCs that have an important connection to the players, slow down and take some time to develop them. You can also ask your players if their characters have any personal plans or goals that they would like to work towards. I've improvised whole Shadowrun sessions based on one of the player characters deciding to steal something they couldn't otherwise afford. I think one of those runs was for a cyber deck, and another one was a whole vehicle repair facility. Good times. Giving your players extra time to explore their goals and execute their own plans is a great way to enrich your campaign and keep a game moving forward, even when you don't have much to give. And now for my bonus tip. Sometimes you're just not up for running a game. Maybe you're better off just postponing the session, watch a movie instead, or break out a board game. It is okay to cancel plans as long as you let people know ahead of time. Don't just ghost your group or make up some fake excuse. Just say you're not feeling up for running the game, and your players, your friends, should respect that. But if you're determined to press on and get a game session in, I think you should go for it. I always feel so much better after spending time playing games with my friends. Now, I'm willing to bet that every one of us has gone into a game session feeling uninspired. Opti, how do you deal with it?
Well, like you said, like sometimes I will just say, I'm not into it because I think my players deserve something better. But I hardly ever prepare ahead of time anyway. And so I usually just bring an extra level of spontaneity to it, right? I just sort of turn on the charm and make everything sort of bombastic and out there and pink mohawk as much as I can. That seems to overcome a lot of my lack of preparation or a lot of my lack of enthusiasm.
You just push back with extra energy that you're not really feeling, but then it hopefully sparks it and gets it going.
Right. And usually the players will, the energy that you bring to the table will be matched by the players. Like if you guys have a good rapport. I found this at conventions and in my home group, right? And sometimes, like you said, the players themselves are not as into it as maybe they would otherwise be if you have like a weekly group or something like that. Just feel the energy. And I like what you said. Sometimes say, hey, I'm not feeling it tonight. Why don't we just hang out and eat public sushi or whatever?
For a local public sushi expert, Bobby, when you were running the complex action game, I remember there were a number of times you confided in me that you were having some trouble just running the game on one level or another. So I'm betting there were some sessions where you went in feeling not great about it, but we had I think every single session of that game was just full of great times. So how did you go about it? Because I couldn't tell.
Well, I was blessed with amazing players. I am also really bad at accepting compliments. So you'll hear me deflect to people like you. But no, really though, in all honesty, it's you have to trust your players and you have to talk to them. And I did something more akin to what, like, my campaign was very planned out for sure, but what I did to run things was very akin to the tip that you gave about drawing inspiration from your players and whatnot. So I would let characters' backgrounds take over and spend a session, you know, either I haven't had time to prepare as much this time for what's going to be happening, or I'm just not feeling great, so I'm just gonna see what, you know, Payday wanted to do. That was a character in the, you know, what. Let's talk about his past and see if we can see if something goes from there. And that's a really good tip, is to really lean on your players. It's you as the GM are often expected to be, like you said, responsible for everybody's fun, but you make the excellent point that it doesn't have to be that way. Everybody's playing this game together, so ask people what they want to do, you know? I did that a lot too.
Oz, what would you do when you were going into a Join the Anarchy session and just not feeling as much doing it as the other times?
You know, it's weird. Join the Anarchy was a special one where, because I just came to the table with nothing and I knew that I had the amazing support of both my cast and my audience, that I could just mine for ideas and then to get them going, that I was usually okay. But I think the main takeaway that I got from your tips, which I full-heartedly agree with, is to put it on the players to explore themselves. Because sometimes the thing that will always get me sometimes, though, is when, even on Join the Anarchy, is when I didn't know what I really wanted to do or explore. Maybe the plot's been chugging along so much that I'm like, I just don't know where to even take it. It's overwhelming for me. That happens sometimes, where it's not that I'm like uninspired. It's just that I can't, it's been muddled so much in my head that now I'm like having a hard time parsing what's the nugget that I want to get to drive the story to its next awesome location. And so when that happens, players' backstories and emotions and like their processing of how things are going can take a back seat. So it's great to just be like, hey, let's slow down, let's set an atmosphere and a mood, and just ask a leading question or set up like a very innocuous seeming NPC, you know, just wants to talk to you about something that we haven't talked about yet, and then watch everything just kind of flow, because that, I think, also helps the players better center themselves and their motivations for what's going to come up next in the plot. So you're not always just in charge of driving everything forward. The players then get to kind of give that extra bump.
Yeah. I think, relying on your players is a really nice thing. It's nice to be able to shift some of that weight of responsibility of the game around so everyone can carry it together. That's something I think took away from both the things you said, and something I believe myself. So it's nice to hear that echoed. Well, let's wrap that up then. Thanks so much for joining us for this discussion. I expect many of you out there will have something to add. What do you do when you aren't up for GMing? Can you think of any examples of great game sessions that happened even though you weren't at your best? Do you have a tip that I should have included in this video? Whack them down in the comments. Oh, I don't have the other notes on what I'm supposed to say for the YouTube. Crap. Last time.
Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell and Patreon. Patreon.com/Shadowcasters.
Thank you. All right, I got to include that in my notes next time. All right.
I just have that in our template. That would be, just like some. Because I was like, man, you should go and join our Patreon and join our Discord and thanks for watching.
We have one of those, right? I just don't know where you go.
If only I had years of experience prepping podcast episodes in which I included all of that information ready to go when I was reading it and doing the episodes.
Anybody else find it unhelpful when the radio gives you the web address? Like, I've never found that helpful.
No.
Like, make sure you go to www.reallyreallylongname.org. And it's like,
I find
I'm never going to do that.
I find it even.
Radios?
We don't have radios. I find it even less useful when billboards on the highway give you a website to go to.
Yeah.
Right, hold on.
Slam on the brakes. Hold on.
Hey, thanks, Palmer. We appreciate your pie.
Yes.
Thank you,
He gave us
Palmer.
a hot dog
He'll find
earlier,
out in
too.
20 minutes. He's playing back the rest of the episode. In the middle of Cliff's segment, he's like, "I love horror games." We love Palmer. Let's. I got another question here in the Discord. What would you? I like this one. What name would you give the phenomenon? This is Epsy again on Discord, by the way. What name would you give the phenomenon when you find a new game system that you like and it takes over your life? And thoughts. And follow-up question that would be, how best do you deal with that phenomenon that you just named?
I think it has to be German. I'm going to go with Spielenfreude.
Spielenfreude is Freunde. Spielenfreunde I like better because...
Spielenfreude, because Freude has to do with, like, lusting for something, and...
Let's see.
Spielen being games.
I'm on it. Keep talking.
Spielenfreude. I like that.
I mean,
That's
it's got
the
that,
word.
like, Schadenfreude is kind of what I was going with that, but putting Spielen instead.
Yeah, lust for games.
Yeah, Freude means joy, so game joy would be good. Yeah, it's got to be a complicated, complex, compound German word, right? So
I have one.
Yes?
It would be ACD for attention compulsive disorder, which I feel like I have, which is basically like ADD, except when something new and flashy comes along, instead of being like super distracted for a second and by a bunch of little things, you just hyper focus on one thing.
I used to,
burn out and have to put it back on the shelf or get divorced.
I had this. I'm laughing because I can relate to that so much. Because I was, speaking of, when I started podcasting and streaming years and years ago, my wife rolled her eyes a bunch, and because she didn't think that I was ever going to take it seriously and keep going, because I'd done this so many times with other things, like the hardcore 5 months that I was into golf. And
how could golf possibly maintain anyone's attention for that long?
The only reason it happened is because I was at a thrift store and I saw like a $20 set of clubs, and I was like, that's a $20 set of clubs. I can have a whole set of clubs and I can start playing golf.
Golfenfreude.
Golfenfreude.
I once bought the golf clubs because they had carbon fiber, not carbon fiber, maybe it's like the carbon fiber, maybe that's not the right term, but that really lightweight like material for the shafts, and then I could knock the golf club heads off and stick pool noodles on them and wrap them over with like fabric or a sock and go whack people in a boffer larps.
Nice.
That's what golf clubs are good for.
Yeah. So how best do you deal with this phenomenon then? This ACD or this Spielefreude?
Well, first the question is this bad for you, right? Because sometimes to me it's inspiration and an obsession, because you're like, oh man, I see this game. Like,
clearly it's bad for Opti, right? He said that. He's also been pulled away. Maybe he's dealing with this right now.
Well, but yeah, like sometimes you read games all the time and they're like, they don't necessarily always strike you right away. Like, I know exactly what I want to do with this game. Like, sometimes though, I pick up a book and I'm like, this is so cool, and I can see my first session, my second session, my third session, and then you just kind of have to put it on paper and see if anyone's interested in playing it.
I would say if this kind of thing hits you, where this new game comes along and you're like, wow, this is so cool, and you're like just obsessed with it, just lean into it, but try to remember to have some balance in your life, because it is awesome to passionately and unironically love things and be into them, and it's awesome to have that feeling of motivation, and you get so much good ideas and creativity when you're in that mode. So I just say, like, just do the thing, lean into it, have fun, but try to be aware of balance in your life. Try to maybe like savor it a little bit and not just go all the way in and spend all your time doing it. Take little breaks so you can enjoy it more rather than get burned out in it. But this is a thing I have some experience with.
Everything in moderation. Yeah.
And now that the discussion is over, Opti is back.
And
muted. So I'm stalling to give Opti an opportunity to be able to contribute, because we literally were not quite done. He's still muted. But I can tell from his gesturing it's gonna be good.
How's that?
There he is.
I came back to say that I am not
Hold
coming
on,
back.
pause.
Oh, that you're
God
not
almighty.
That you're not coming back. Okay.
What?
No, we can hear you. We can hear you.
There you go. Okay, try now.
Thank you.
Okay. Had to mute you on the Zooms.
Okay, so
we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I came back to say that I'm not coming back.
Okay.
I have a child sick emergency, so I had
Ooh,
to.
okay.
I mean, emergency, right?
All right. Can
But
you
when your
leave?
child's
Can you do me a favor
vomiting-
and leave your camera on? At least.
Sure.
And I will just so I don't have to. We're done with the segments, but until the show's over, that way I won't have to rearrange the
Yeah,
cameras.
no, absolutely. All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
See
Thank you.
ya. Take care. All right. So let's see. One of the. Well, huh?
Oh, I was going to talk about Star Wars Squadrons.
Yeah. Well, before you do that, I was gonna say that because I would love to talk about that. The tip that I didn't talk as much about that you gave during your segment, Cliff, that I really liked was the one about letting your players know when you are not feeling it. Because I think, again, like, for some reason, GMs get put on this, unfairly so, get put on this this position of having to, like, have it together and be in charge and be responsible for everyone else's fun, like you said, and I really like the idea that I'm all about breaking down those weird barriers between players and GMs, and
it can make the GM stressed out and feel bad, but it also makes fewer people want a GM because it seems that it's a big mountain to climb.
Right.
Yeah, anything we can do to break that down and make it more accessible, to just have more people just relax and have fun GMing games and step into that role more comfortably, I think is a good thing.
Yeah. I feel like the counter argument to that, although I 100% agree, and that's what we should achieve, is what happens when cancellation, especially like if you're not getting together as often, like if you're doing a weekly game, whatever, but like if you're every once a month or once every 2 months or something, and then like you're supposed to get together, your group is barely able to get together in the first place, and then the GM isn't feeling it, like how do you reconcile that puts even more pressure on a GM to not want to say I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I think that just your group has to be comfortable with being open about that. I'm in a group right now that is like that, very infrequently plays, maybe once a month. We try to do more, but usually about once a month, and that happens to us. Someone's like, man, I know I'm supposed to be running this session, I'm not feeling it, so I wanted to let you guys know ahead of time, just in case it's, and we'll tell them, like, no pressure, you don't have to if you don't want to, we could do something else, and we just talk about it, and so making sure that those avenues of communication are open and people feel comfortable and are able to talk about it in that way, I think is really important.
And also that those same players don't say, "Oh my God, you suck," and like they're being like super negative about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They should not be in your group in the first place.
Right. Exactly.
Well, to be fair, I mean, if it is happening a lot and someone does get upset that it's getting canceled,
Yeah.
it does mean they're invested and they want to play with you.
Yeah.
So that is kind of a good thing. But yeah, it's still better to, I guess, put respect and well-being above all other considerations when it comes to, you're playing with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Take good care of your friends. Encourage your friends to take good care of themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. Is
Mm-hmm.
we're the reason you're getting together is hopefully to have fun. So, make sure that that's what's happening first. You know.
Yeah. My tips that I gave too, they're for a game where it's like you're having an occasional session where you're down, not when like the whole campaign seems like it's grinding to a halt and nobody's having fun anymore. Sometimes it's just time to end the campaign too.
Mm-hmm.
But,
You know what would be a good topic for a future segment that someone can do that's not me because I'm terrible at writing these things, is because I see this pop up on various RPG channels that I frequent, is what to do about that one player at the table who's making problems or who is viewed as a problem in some way, like a thorn, or like there's a lot of ways that this a problem you can have a problem player like that can be defined in many different ways, and maybe different definitions of that would require different segments and topics discussion and stuff like that, but that comes up a lot on these different like forums and places that RPG places that I see where people are asking that question. I've got this player who does this thing and I'm trying to get them to do something else, or they're a problem, or these two players have a problem with each other, like things like that, and how do you deal with that? And
I have some thoughts on the matter, but I think I'll save them for a video topic.
Yeah. The one thing that I'll say on that is I think it's important for us to, well, not, as you were saying, I was like, we should probably stop using the term problem player.
Yeah.
The player is introducing a problem into, but the player is not themselves necessarily the problem necessarily, right? Like they're bringing a dynamic to the table in some way that is hurting the game. So it's about talking about what's at the core of that, how do you potentially fix that, and is it the player themselves being malicious, intentionally or unintentionally, or is this something that can be communicated through, or like what's the there's so many different ways, right? So I think it's maybe about tackling what is the different problem.
It is very context specific, and that makes me think that, for those of you who are listening live right now, or those of you who are patrons who are going to listen to this later, if you have like your question of a scenario like this that you're thinking of, or that you've dealt with, or that you want advice, we can send us questions, and we can be your advice columnists.
Dear Abby.
Yeah. And I think that would be a fun thing to do on this show is answer questions like that from people who have to get our feedback. We're not like mental health professionals here or anything, or even professional advice givers, but we've got some experience dealing with. I still don't like that word, like, right, like. But you know what I mean? Like, we have experience. Yeah, we have experience playing with people that have varied demands and concerns and situations and stuff like that, and we've had to we've encountered these types of things before, and we might have some advice. So, I think we should do. Anybody should do that that's listening, and maybe we'll tweet about it too or something. Get other people to send us stuff. Star Wars Squadrons comes out this week, and that's going to be a super fun game. Cliff, I know that you and I are I'm sure are going to be playing that together.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that game.
I'm so excited. I got it on PC and PlayStation.
What?
There's a specific reason, but I was about to interrupt Cliff again, so go ahead.
No, that's fine. I wasn't talking.
The reason was because I was really excited when I heard that it was going to have full VR support, and I've got the PSVR, right? So I was like, yes, that would be amazing to be in an X-Wing or in a TIE Fighter and flying it in VR, right? Oh my gosh. So I was following the news, because I also really want to play this game on a joystick, okay? So for those of you who don't know, Star Wars Squadrons is like the old X-Wing and TIE Fighter games basically brought to the... Yeah, there's... Oh, hold that up. Let me see. Face the... I think that's the kind that I used to have.
This thing is pretty ubiquitous. I think it's the only joystick still on the market now, actually. The Logitech Extreme 3D Pro.
I have one still in the box over there. It's a HOTUS. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but one of those... It's got the throttle and the joystick, but it's compatible for both PlayStation and... But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I wanted to be able to do VR in this game. So I'm following the news, trying to see what are going to be the PlayStation compatible joysticks that I'm going to be able to do it on with, and is it going to have joystick support on the PlayStation? And they weren't sure. They were announcing blah blah, and finally they said that they're only going to have joystick support on the PC and not on consoles. And I was very upset because now I had to choose: do I play with a joystick, or do I play VR? And so I decided not to choose. And so I said, because it's actually it's a little cheaper than a typical like AAA game. It's like $40, I think, for pre-order. Mm-hmm. I was expecting to have to pay $60. So I was like, well, for an extra $20, I'll pre-order it on both platforms. And they have cloud saves cross-platform, so you can play on the PC and then go over to your PlayStation and continue over there. So I figured I had I guess some money to burn, and decided to get on.
I'm surprised you can't do VR though on PC.
Not with the PSVR. No, not with that. Huh. Well, because the VR the VR requires the PlayStation Move controllers as well as mm-hmm. as the PlayStation, the camera thing that you get. So it requires all those things. But if I had like an Oculus, then I wouldn't have to choose. But I wasn't going to go out and spend a couple $100 on a new VR just for my PC. Like, that was going a little too far.
So Oz, I know you're a Star Wars fan too. Are you going to play this game?
The first time I heard about it was Bobby earlier this week, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Did you ever play any of the X-Wing or TIE Fighter games?
Nope.
Before your time, I think you would have been a little baby, probably, or
maybe. But actually, I didn't even touch Jedi Fallen Order, although that would be the first video game I would probably get into.
Jedi Fallen Order is really good. You absolutely should play that game.
Yeah, I watched Adrian play it, my husband. So
so you even have it.
Yeah, it's there. I could just spin it up right now if I really wanted to.
But did you watch him play through the whole story? So you know this?
No. I came in and out. I have no idea what the story is.
Gameplay is amazing.
Mm-hmm. It looks really nice.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you play these Jedi games where you're playing like a lightsaber like a force wielding person, and it feels kind of hinky and dumb.
Yeah.
But it feels really good, and that's a great game. Yeah.
Okay.
But Star Wars Squadrons is gonna be amazing, so you should try it. But you have to do the joystick because it's.
We should do with Cassie too, because she's super excited about it.
Oh, there we go. What are the squadron sizes? Are they 4 or 5? I can't remember.
5 or the one of the modes at least. I don't know what all of them are gonna be, but
there's multiplayer.
Yeah, that's one of the really exciting modes of this game is, so get this, so there's a whole fully fledged out campaign where you're playing both the Rebel, you're going back and forth between the Rebels and the Empire. It's actually not the Empire, it's like the birth of the New Order or something like that. It takes place right after Episode 6.
Okay.
And so you're playing both sides, going back and forth, and it's this story, and it's supposed to be a fully fledged, really good campaign mode. You're doing like escort missions, and it's a space flight sim. It's really good. Just trust me. But the sort of like flagship feature of the game are these 5 versus 5 squadron battles, and what you're going to be doing is one side. There's going to be a capital ship in space. One side is attacking the capital ship, and the other side is defending it. And you've got 5 people on your and you're gonna you like have your loadout. Some people are going to be playing like flying bombers because they're going to want to get in and do heavy damage to the capital ship. You've got like imagine you're the rebels, right? You might have your B wing who's going to be doing the bombing runs, or your Y wings and doing bombing runs, and then you've got your A wings that are going to be there to defend to do the dog fighting, and your X-wings have their own, versatility, and everybody's got their role, and you're communicating with each other, and it's going to be very fun. I'm very excited about it. If you can't tell.
Yeah, you're very excited about it.
The game within the game is working in as much of your dialogue as Star Wars quotes as possible.
Right. But it sounds like we got Opti, Cassie.
That's pod racing.
Yeah. Opti, Cassie, and me and Cliff so far. So we got a 5th spot open.
I see. Okay. Gotcha. And if anything, I'll send Adrian your way.
Yeah,
we'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to be able to play cross-platform too. So like within a squadron. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think you are. So that'll be cool. That'll be cool. That's it for the show. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We had a good turnout, and Palmer says he might pick it up for the PlayStation. So there we go. All right,
just form an entire guild. Just have an entire rebellion.
Yeah, we got the Shadow Casters.
I was going to ask where you guys sat as far as Empire versus Rebel.
Oh, Rebel all the way.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm happy with either. So in this political climate, I guess I'll go with Rebel. So thank you guys for hanging out. Again, patreon.com/shadowcasters if you're not already. If you are, I love you. I love all of you anyway, so who am I kidding? And we will be here not next week. I should have said that sooner.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about this. Yeah. Yes.
We won't be here next week. I'm going to be getting into a disease tube and flying to Ohio, and coming back. So next week we will not be doing a show, and if things go poorly, the week after that also I'll be sick. Oh
my God. But at least I'll be around to potentially run the show.
Right.
The other thing, I'm not going to be here next weekend either because I'm going to be celebrating my anniversary and Adrian's birthday. So we rented out an Airbnb and we're going to just hang. It's going to be nice. But yeah, that's why I was like, But we are looking into potentially releasing a few segments next week anyway.
Yes.
So, but they might come from some guest contributers. So those are going to be a surprise.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have someone on the something on the channel in the meantime. But yeah, so we won't have a live show next week. We'll miss you all, but we'll be back the week after for sure. So feel free to watch this episode again next week if you're a patron. Sorry. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling and we're gonna head on out. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.